Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Brick+Work Podcast. For today's episode, I have Tami Bonnell, and she is the CEO of EXIT Realty Corp. She's a 30-year plus veteran of the real estate industry, and she was named to the National Association of Women in Housing and Real Estate Ecosystem, NAWRB, Diversity and Inclusion Leadership Council. Hi, Tami.
Hi there. How are you?
Thank you for joining us on this kind of short notice we had discussed before. But yeah, I'd like to kind of start these off kind of with, in your own words, what brought you into your career in real estate?
Well, I came about it probably a little different than most people. I'm a daughter of Irish immigrants. So my first job, I was cleaning homes for new construction at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And so I would get dropped off on site in a subdivision and I would clean as many homes as I could get clean for everybody to be ready. And I did it on weekends. And about 13 years old, I was sitting outside the window, scraping the windows for people to get ready to move in. And they had a final walkthrough. And as they were coming through the final walkthrough, it was a relocation and the wall between the kitchen and the dining room wasn't supposed to be there. And so when they left after everybody was screaming and I'm just going, please make me invisible, they ran out, the builder put his fist through the wall. Wow. And I said, any idiot knows a stud's 16 inches off center, you just broke your hand. And he said, drive me to the hospital. And I did. I lied about my age. So he thought I was much older than I was. And I drove him to the hospital. He did break his hand. And he was complaining about people not doing the level of service they should do for what they're getting paid. And I was like, how hard is it to sell a house? And he said, you think you can sell houses? And I said, absolutely. And he said, good, start Saturday and I'll give you $500 a house. So I sold my first house when I was 13.
When you were 13, oh my goodness.
And I did it for a while, and then I was very interested in finance and I wanted to get involved in finance. So I did for a while, and the company I was working with started acquiring real estate companies. So they said, you might have a knack for this. And it turned out I did. And I always loved the back room and being strategic more than anything. So I was instrumental in building 3 major brands before coming to EXIT. I taught mergers and acquisitions, acquired 114 companies for one of those brands, sold franchises, and helped build national and international brands. And in about 1999, the end of 1999, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was ready to start my own business, and EXIT was coming into the United States. They originated out of Canada. And so I started off here as the regional owner for the New England states. And that was in the end of 99. In 2000, I became vice president over the US. In 2001, I became president over the US. And in 2012, I became CEO. The cool thing about everybody in leadership in this company is everybody that got the job was doing the job before they got it, right?
I love that. Yeah.
We were all passionate about it. And so we all focused on it. So it's been an amazing ride.
I love that story. So now goes into my next question. So tell me more about EXIT Realty. So you said they started off in Canada. What was kind of their, I went on the website and I saw it's an international real estate firm. You guys have already grown dramatically from that time till now. So what's kind of the vision for EXIT Realty?
Our goal is to build this out. We want to be dominant in North America before going anywhere else. Between Canada and the United States, we have 650 offices, about 25,000 agents.
Yeah.
And our premise is different. Number one, we were built on human potential. So we deal with the entire human being. Our biggest award is actually a bronze statue of a person carving themselves, because we believe that everybody's a work in progress always. But we also focused on everyone being part of the team, kind of a Ben and Jerry's philosophy that everyone's part of the team and everyone gets to participate and belong. So it's as if agents and brokers had a vested interest in the future of the company. So we have residual income. If I introduced you into the company and you joined as an agent, I receive the equivalent of 10% of the gross commission, up to $10,000 a year, every year for as long as you're with EXIT.
Got it.
Not off your portion. So I get rewarded for the percentage of the company I help build. As good as that is, though, I can introduce anyone anywhere in the world. There's an EXIT office. And so can everybody else, so that we get rewarded. And it's not multi-level marketing. It's not any type of a pyramid. It's literally, I get rewarded for my own personal efforts. But as good as that is, our founder and chairman, Steve Morris, thought about it full circle. So when I go to retire, I receive 7% of that income even in retirement. The other 3% goes to the brokerage, because we want the brokerage to have a ballast.
Of course, yeah.
It works great for acquisitions, and 79% of the offices that are out there have 6 agents or less right now. Although we're acquiring 50 and 100 plus person offices as well. So there's a retirement component, so that they can actually retirement. But we took it a step further when we thought about people's families, and there's a beneficiary component. So if I die, 5% of that income goes to my beneficiary for as long as those people are with the company.
This is the first. I haven't heard of this model at all. Is this, there's no other brokerages?
There's no other residual program.
Anything close to this, I think.
Right.
Wow.
And so we have amazing stories of people that we've done acquisitions where these people are now retired with $250,000 a year every year, instead of just getting one flat buyout and ending up with capital gains. We've had agents that have retired because they were just ready to do that. And they've been able to not only sell their book of business, but also continue to get the residual income. Where are they going to send their referrals to, right? Who are they going to want to help? So it makes everybody, if you and I went out to dinner tonight, John, and we went to a really nice restaurant, and the waiter that waited on us did a really good job waiting on us, how much better of a job do you think they'd do if they actually had ownership in the business?
Right.
So everyone feels like they have ownership. I mean, every business should run like that, so that everybody's willing to hustle. But we went out and didn't just launch it with residual income, although that's a phenomenal component. We literally went out and said to the top producers out there, people doing 50 transactions a year or better before launching, what do you love about where you are? What don't you love? What would be your perfect world? And they said 7 things they really wanted. Number 1, they wanted leadership. So we have leadership in every direction you can possibly think of. Boots on the ground. So we have regional owners that are there so that there's boots on the ground of somebody to help the offices grow and help sell franchises. All of us at corporate headquarters are willing to travel and go out and speak and go out and add value to everybody that's there. Number 2, they want education. So we provide education from every single level. I just got my license. Now what do? All the way to the consummate professional making millions of dollars.
Oh, that's great.
And we teach them about themselves. How do they think? The power of their subconscious mind, how to relate with people better, everything to do with the mind-body connection, along with how to do better real estate and current tense. Part of my job as CEO is to be a good forecaster, right? Third, they want help with technology. They don't want to be a technology specialist. They just want to know how to use the things that work, that help them connect. So we have a vice president of technology engagement. She speaks English, Spanish, and technology. And she teaches them, because, information without implementation equals poverty. She actually teaches them how to utilize all of the devices and the tools so that they can actually relate and connect, and they can be with people doing their job, not worried about how they're going to figure this all out. Number 4, they want a marketing program they can track. Number 5, they want help with the details. So everything we have is one entry, user friendly. Number 6, they want image. What better image than, having a vested interest in the company and feeling like you're part of something bigger. But we also have the spirit of exit. So money out of every single transaction goes back into the communities we serve. So we've pledged more than $4 million to charity. And we have a spirit of exit program so that the agents and the broker can actually do an actual fundraiser, and exit will match the funds.
Wow.
So that we get to contribute more and we get to touch more lives in more communities.
This is
and number
such
7,
a comprehensive approach. I love it.
And number 7, they want skin in the game. And obviously that's where the residuals come in. But, Ariana Huffington did an interview a couple of years ago. She wrote an article. It's actually probably only about a year ago. She wrote an article on corporations and that how we feel about corporations now, and that we feel like we have a responsibility to the consumer, and employees feel like we have a responsibility to focus on good health, to give back to the community, to be a good corporate citizen. So dollars isn't the first piece of the equation. And the perfect example, during the pandemic, when we were sheltered in place, we didn't lay off one single person in our entire organization. We feel that humans are too valuable. And so instead, we pulled everybody together and launched a stimulus package worth in excess of $50 million. And we provided webinars and techinars and training and everything from yoga and how you think so that their mind was doing okay to ramping them up so that when they hit the ground, they could hit the ground running when they came out. But we were touching them every single day, where we watched a lot of major brands lay off in droves.
20% of the workforce across the
we
board.
didn't lay off anybody, but we led by example during the recession. It was the worst recession since the Depression. And during that recession, we didn't lay anybody off then either. And as a company, and we were a really young company, we said, all right, who are we as a company? And we decided we're a company built on human potential. So we had to outsell and outthink our way out of the recession. And you know what? We made a profit every single year because we don't report to shareholders and we don't have to have an investor say, I need to have this back.
Yeah.
You're going to have to trust that I know what I'm doing. And because we led by example doing that, this time when the pandemic hit and we reached out to everyone, including the person that answers the phone, said, how can I be part of the solution? Totally different mindset. And so everyone feels secure. You can't grow in a job unless you feel safe.
Agreed. You're addressing so many issues and problems that are going on in brokerage across the board. I mean, I see it even as a vendor, right, in the real estate industry. So obviously all our clients are agents and brokers, residential, commercial alike. And I see a lot of turnover. I mean, one day they're one brokerage. I'm not going to name them here. And one day, the next day they're another brokerage, right? So this is happening at scale, it seems like. It's happening more frequently. No one has any sort of loyalty. Everyone has, slogans and vision. And of course, they're all trying to represent technology and people and community and tie them all together. But in practice, I think that's the difference maker, right? I think that really people, when you work at a company, you can instantly understand kind of, that culture, you in the leadership and whatever even they say, you feel it when you work there. So I think, the fact that some of them only stay 6 months to a year speaks a lot to those volumes versus what you guys are doing. So that's
even people in leadership in a lot of major brands, you're seeing them only stay for a period of time and walk away with a golden parachute. And instead of saying I'm dedicated to this, I honestly feel like part of my responsibility as CEO is that I'm responsible to my people. And I'm responsible to make sure that they feel like they're secure, and I'm responsible to make sure that they continue to grow.
That's great.
And I can't do that if I'm deciding to do that just on a balance sheet.
Now, let's touch upon something we were discussing a little bit before this was, I think that speaks to kind of the environment we're in now. Obviously with the pandemic, everyone's working remotely, but then more towards just, I love what you just said right now. So the potential for every person, every agent, right? Like no matter what the obstacles are, you guys are there to kind of help. So what sort of obstacles do you see now, whether it's pandemic related, or if we get past this in a few years, what about, let's say, technology as a disruptor? Obviously, Zillow is now their own brokerage. Open Door that just went public recently are trying to replace agents. And trust me, I'm in the camp of agents are still almost, you have to have an agent in transactions, because what's going on is it's not like the AIs or robots are selling real estate, it's people. So it's more of a people business. I think a lot of people that are outside the industry doesn't understand that it's the relationships and the people that drive everything in real estate. So
I also think it's having that accurate market knowledge though too, right? Whether I'm a first-time home buyer and I'm a water heater away from being able to pay my mortgage,
right?
Or I'm somebody that's buying luxury, I want you to tell me how this market impacts me. I want you to know exactly what's going on in my life, and I want you to be the solution.
Right.
And so I always teach people that you need to be the solution. You need to be the solution for whoever's in front of you. And the more accurate market knowledge you have, the more knowledge you have of the person that's in front of you, so that I do my homework on that person. And the more I can mix those two together, the better I'm going to be able to serve you. I'll give you a great example. I spoke a couple years ago I speak a couple hundred times a year. And I spoke a couple of years ago, I was in DC. I was actually speaking at HUD. And I also had this opportunity to speak with a lot of agents and brokers, primarily from our organization that time. And I had a gentleman come up to me that was fairly new. He had been in the business about 1.5 years. And he said, I have a listing appointment tonight that is a really big deal. And I'm the 4th person going in. what would you suggest
Yeah.
to me? And I was talking about Investing in Opportunities Act. I was talking about opportunity zones as part of what I was talking about, and the 30,000 foot view, and where people's circumstances were taking them, because people move because of their circumstances, right? We're seeing this onslaught, this rush, because 43.7% of people are going to be able to telecommute.
Right.
And so, they're making choices based on that. But at this point in time, I said, first and foremost, Google this person, friend them on Facebook, connect with them on LinkedIn, and do as much intel on the human being as you possibly can, along with the property.
Right.
And when you go in, don't run in with a CMA and say, but I can do this.
Yeah.
Have a conversation and find out what's really important to them. What are your real estate dreams? Where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? This gentleman actually owned a business. When do you plan on retiring? This in his 70s. When do you plan on retiring? Do you have an exit strategy? No pun intended. Do you have an exit strategy when it comes to selling that, retiring where you are right now?
Right.
He just went through the whole entire list, right? Asking him questions, and just one question led to another question by what he came back with an answer. And he found out that this gentleman wanted to sell his company within 1 to 3 years. He just wanted to know what his property was worth, because he didn't owe any money on it anymore. And he didn't know if it was the right time, like had he maxed out, and on what he was going to get for return on investment. Should he go move somewhere else and take this gain while he had the opportunity?
Right.
And he wanted to move a couple states south of there. And so he said, you know what, I'm going to recommend that you don't list your property right now, because properties are still going up in value. Let's have a conversation every month about this property, but where you want to move and retire, those properties are going up in value. I would absolutely buy something there now. If you want, we can do short-term rentals. If not, you can use it as a second home until you move. And if you like that idea, right? Always making sure that he was comfortable.
Right.
And here's what happened. He ended up listing his property 9 months later. He made $150,000 more than he would have. All 3 other people came in with an instant CMA, right? Whether that person was a lead and not a human being, or that was just what they were taught and what they did automatically. He bought a second home that this gentleman ended up with a referral in the Carolinas. He bought a second home in the Carolinas. He taught him short-term rentals. He paid the property off in 2 years with short-term rentals.
Wow.
And because it was a very desirable location, he made an 150 on this property, and he helped him to buy 5 investment properties. And his net worth was $2.4 million more 2 years later than it would have been if he had gone with Plan A. So,
CMA first, right?
But I'm not saying it happens that way every single time. There's sometimes when it's just when people are really struggling, and you can actually help them leave with a little bit of dignity and still end up okay. They're going to remember that forever. But it's me paying attention to what your circumstances are and what it is that you have for wants and needs. The more they do that, those people are going to shout from the rooftops, oh no, you got to deal with this person. You're not going to believe the service you're going to get and how much knowledge they have.
Right.
And you're going to have that opportunity. It may be that you have, and understanding what your skill set is too. If you're an unbelievable math whiz, dealing with investors would make sense, right?
Right.
But back to the disruptors, this is my belief in how real estate should be done. You should have accurate market knowledge. You should know where the 30,000 foot view is so that you can pay attention to trends. You should know where the 2,000 foot view, because that's your individual state or province. So you know that there's trends that are happening here because they're probably going to happen there.
Right.
You need to know that street level view, and you need to have a perspective on your consumer, understanding them, and you need to have a perspective on yourself on where you have strengths.
Right.
You shouldn't be selling the way everyone else sells. I don't sell ever, and I've broken world record selling. I find out what's really important to you, and then I find out if our business philosophies match.
Right.
And you're going to want to work with me or you're not, and I'm okay either way, because you want to make sure that you're dealing with people that are going to be the culture that you want, right? For your environment, the environment that you want.
Right.
But we've always had about 10%, 90% of consumers want a trusted advisor, right? And they're not going to have trust if they don't have a relationship with you.
Right.
But I believe that it's much more the solution than it is an advisor.
Right.
That you're really finding out what's going on in their world, and you're going to give them solutions so that they can have what it is that they really desire. Even if that's telling a first-time home buyer, you know what, kid, you're going to have to move into a condo first, but it will get your foot in the door and help you to build some equity. And it's the only way you're going to have ownership. And this is going to be the difference in the trajectory of your life and your wealth building. If you pay attention to this plan, I'm going to listen, right? Because that makes sense to me. And being aware of all the trends and all the changes, it's not just looking at charts and graphs. Data is great. I'm an information junkie. I read 300 books a year. You can't take me away from information, but I still have to tell you how that's pertinent to you, how that impacts you, right? And what's really important to you. So will we have disruptors out there? We're always going to have disruptors out there. And we've had, it doesn't matter if it was somebody that had cardboard nailed and said, we'll buy your house, you know, where investors did that all the time before. There's always going to be about 10% of the market that's going to go in different directions, right? But when you treat somebody like a lead and not like a human being, when you treat somebody like a lead and you're not focused, you're just focused on selling that house and the right pictures instead of what's right for that family or what's right for that individual. You're not giving them the whole picture because you don't know the whole picture. You know, this is the biggest investment most people will ever make. So do I believe they're going to get some of the market? Sure. There'll always be AI that I want to buy something for short money and so that I can turn around and resell it somewhere else. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart, right? And there'll always be some of these things, and there'll always be new competitors that come out, and hopefully that forces everybody to bring their A game. What technology has done, though, is it's provided enough information so that if I'm a consumer, because I want speed, transparency, and I want you to be the solution, I'm going to be able to see whether you know your job or not. I'm going to be able to see if you have that accurate market knowledge. I'm going to be able to see whether you're trying to play your way along. So people are going to have to really work on their skill set. That's going to be incredibly important. Is there room for some of these other things? Sure. But here's the biggest thing that, for an example on disruption, I can disrupt small things. Amazon books, right? I can order stuff on Amazon and it's at my doorstep tomorrow morning or maybe tonight, depending on where I live. And I can get that instant gratification. And, you know, I give out probably more than 1,000 books a year. I read about 300. Amazon's good for me, right? But I'm not going to buy a house through Amazon because my family's going to be in that house. And I want to know what the atmosphere is. And I want to know what the lifestyle is there. And I want to know if I'm going to get a return on investment. And I want to know any and all of the little quirks. And I want to know that you're going to be smart enough to tell me that's too far away. That's too far of a commute. And you're going to hate this in about 3 weeks, right? It doesn't matter what that answer is back, right? I'm going to want to know what that information is. And that's going to be incredibly important to me because I want people to be part of this, part of the solution. That takes somebody that can actually help me. But here's the biggest picture to have when we look at disruptors. Uber could disrupt the cab business because it's a small ticket item. Amazon can disrupt vitamins and books because it's typically a small ticket item, right? And it's something that we buy often, right? I get an automatic, the same vitamins show up.
It's not as important where it's coming from. We've already made the buying decision. We just need it more efficiently.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Speed. So small ticket items that are fast. Big ticket items that don't sell often, that's a very hard industry to disrupt. Because you're used to having this trusted advisor. You're used to having somebody that has that accurate market knowledge, that understands everything about this community and understands everything about me so that they can pay attention. A numbers game person that's trying to disrupt something rapidly is not going to be able to do that. So really good financial advisors are not going to be easy to disrupt. Can I use Acorn and all the other stuff? Yeah, it's $50 a month. Whatever you're going to do, who cares? It's money that I would light on fire and I would eat that much in sushi anyway, right? So I would do that. But for my future wealth, I'm going to deal with somebody that knows what they're talking about. I'm going to deal with somebody that knows what they're doing because I'm going to be in this for the long haul, right? Warren Buffett, I'm going to buy these things and hold. Right? Really expensive divorce attorneys. Hopefully you're not getting divorced very often in your life. It's a tough thing to disrupt too because there's so many moving parts, right? And it's personal. Real estate is the same. Now, as an investor, I'd buy something sight unseen as long as the math worked, right? If I'm just investing and the math works, I might do that. But getting to know that person and getting to know that individual, most people are going to move. It's gotten less often right now, right? Once every 9 to 11 years, unless you're in a fast-paced area. And I'm not going to buy that often enough so that it's not really something as easy to disrupt. And I'm giving you so much of my money. I want to get a return on my investment. You know, we have some panic times right now where we're selling everything that comes on the market, and you know, it's all going over asking, but that's a rare segment of the market. That's not the whole entire market of going through all these waves and understanding all the other pieces of the equation. So it's a tough industry to disrupt. Most of the places that you're seeing that are disruptors with the high tech, most of them haven't been profitable yet.
No, not at all. They're just funding
so
at this point. Yeah.
How long is it going to be before the investors or the stockholders or the shareholders want to get some money back and get a return on their investment? So they're not going to keep lighting money on fire. At some point in time, they're going to want to get a return. Will some of these people get little pockets? Yeah, there'll be some that'll get little pockets, and there'll be some areas, the areas that Zillow picked. Those are fast moving markets. Those are great rental markets. Those are, you know, great for those ideas, but still they're not going to have, when they have a listing, they don't want the people that don't have that experience and expertise. This is for the people that are putting in an instant offer, right? So there's plenty of room. I like the fact that we get competitors that come in because it forces you to get up and get out of bed and bring your A game, right? And competition is healthy. It's a good thing for keeping everybody alive. This getting into the real estate industry is too easy. And it's different in every single state, but it's too easy for what you represent. Where I live, it's 40 hours to get your real estate license and represent the biggest investment most people make 1 week. But it's 1,500 hours to be able to cut somebody's hair.
Good comparison.
And I think that's a little bizarre. Right? And you know, when you look at a lot of the real estate professionals, you know, if you haven't sold more than a couple properties a year, you're probably not in that group.
You're just there. You're licensed.
You're not part of that club. You know, if we went to the emergency room today and I had to get an IV and she said, "Oh, I haven't done that yet this year," I'm stabbing myself.
Exactly.
Right? I think I know where my vein is before you. I give blood a lot. Okay, we're good. I wouldn't do that. Right? So,
I couldn't agree with you more. And you know, I actually feel that this technology should be more complementary. But the thing is, I think a lot of people in Silicon Valley and these co-founders, they have good intention, right? They see inefficiencies, they see a need in the market, so they go, wow, why can't we just do this better? And so, you know, that's how it starts off with. But I think even those people and those engineers that maybe align with someone that is an agent or a broker and a veteran, that kind of has that conversation where I'm an engineer, I could build whatever, I know everything about that. Tell me about your industry. And then they get kind of that downloaded input. And all of a sudden you get this more efficient, fast product. But then the misconception always is that you could replace the human element. So the veteran might have left off all those intricate stories about hand-holding, about midnight calls. You know, there's a lot of that that's layered into the transaction. It wasn't a definite yes or a no, like what people think, right? Oh, decide to list. Yes, definitely. The story that you highlighted is there's so much nuance. It's understanding, okay, what are their concerns, having empathy, being transparent, but then being a consultant and advisor and be willing to kind of buy into, you know, okay, I really want to help you in all facets. And so many, you know, agents that I've spoken to are counselors, are dog walkers, are experts of so many different facets, because people go, well, look, I know I could shop 100 different vendors for 100 different things that I need that's a part of this house, because it's not just a clean transaction for the house. It's everything that's involved, that's tied to life, that's tied to that house and that transaction. So now you're everything for them, right? So,
when you can give that advice of everything to do with it. And you know, there's other stuff like there's so many people that think, especially when they first become an investor, right? That they think it's going to be like watching one of those television shows. Right?
They're so popular though.
Because there's so many of them. I'm hooked too, right? But because there's so many of them, I have a really close girlfriend that we've been friends since we were 12 years old. You know, she's the person that I'd call at 3 o'clock in the morning and she'd come help me bury the body, right? But she was talking about wanting to invest in real estate and she wanted to do fix and flips.
Sure.
She doesn't clean her own house. She doesn't buy her own groceries. She doesn't mow her own lawn.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
pretty sure she's not going to be a fix and flip person, right?
No, no, no.
But when I started asking her effective questions a couple of years back, why do you want to do this? I want to provide more of a future for my kids. She's a single mom. I want to provide more of a future. She's made a great living, but I want to provide more of a future. I want to be able to teach them more things. I want to help other people that were in the circumstances I was in.
Right.
And I said, okay, so now we found a lane. She lives in a town that has the best school system in the state, public school system in the state. I said, everybody that gets a divorce is going to move here, and they're going to, half of them are going to rent condos because they just split their income in half and they can't afford to buy a house again.
Right.
And so they're going to rent condos, and they're going to stay until their kids turn 18. So you have a tenant for 10, 15 years that are going to take care of the property and really appreciate the fact that they can keep their kids in the same school system and that things don't change that much. You've already been through divorce. You understand these people. You can understand what they're going through. That to me sounds like a better idea. Well, she owns 40 of them now. And she is probably about $400 a month up on every single one of them that she still has a mortgage left on.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant idea for her because that fits her lane. It fits where her intent is. But you really need to, that's why you need to understand the person too. And you can't do that by me just pushing a couple of buttons on a computer, that you can really help that person and really make a difference in their lives. To me, it's always about being the solution. And so those people will excel. We're going to have room for other people, but it's having somebody in technology, and we're seeing even the people that are in leadership in those companies, it's kind of a revolving door, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Many of them have had multiple CEOs, right?
Yeah.
But they end up with this, magic, beautiful parachute when they leave, and they walk away with stock options, and someone else comes in. I don't know if that's the same level of seriousness that you want. And it's not that I think there's a bad thing with getting a return on investment.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a bad thing to be profitable. But I think that the knowledge that you need in this business, I mean, would you go get financial advice from somebody that just got their license yesterday?
No. I'm even betting the people that have all that experience. I still want the best out of them.
That's right. That's right. And so I think that this, even having these people come in, it's definitely creating some fear in people. But if they would just stop and take a step back and say, okay, what do I know? And who do I know? And how can I improve what I'm doing right now?
Right. That's a perfect segue. So I kind of want to impart what what we envision for Brick+Work too. So I know I shared we provide our initial launch and niche industry is obviously commercial brokers and land development. I did a bunch of lunch and learns post-launch to some local residential brokerage offices. And I remember all the glazed looks over everyone's faces when I talked about the zoning and the developers that are trying to affect housing and what the solution is for the housing shortage. It's got to be multifaceted. It's not just one solution. It's everybody's got to get involved. The stakeholders, the investors, the community, politics, of course. That's kind of a hindrance, but you could leverage it in a good way as long as everyone's aboard on what's going on. But so based on that, what I've always wanted to do was provide value for residential agents. So I've had a couple of agents that actually got it right away. And I just keep, every month meeting with them going, okay, tell me what's going on in your office, right? Like, so what's driving some of the, transactions in your office, but what's also of concern. And well, come to find out, we were looking big. We were looking at the apartments being built, the mixed use, these massive 300 unit communities. But again, those are few and far between. There's way more single family homes locally here, but I'm sure there is. Exactly, right? So that's how, it's mostly, ag land, I would say, most barren land. And then it gets to rural, then suburban, then even the cities, and there's a few of them. But what I've realized is there's a new kind of law that came through California, and it's called ADU laws.
Right.
Yeah, granny flats, accessory dwelling units. That's been huge. So, but it's been kind of confusing because the local cities and municipalities have kind of put overlays from the state, right? So the state said, yeah, as long as it fits this requirement, your garage, and it has these minimal setbacks, you're okay. You could build up to 800 square feet or 1,200 square feet. But then all of a sudden, these cities said, no, not with this, not with that. So they added layers. And so I think the focus was lost. Recently in California for this year, surprisingly, they opened it up. They overran the cities and they said, no, state law is right. So you could still build what you want, but it's not being utilized. Of course, the pandemic has kind of put a wrench in all of this thing, but it's still a problem. So what we're doing is we're launching a couple of new things for residential agents, which are a comprehensive ADU report on highest best use for that property. So if it's, you can have 2 ADUs in certain properties or just one. You can have an ADU where it's the unit is on top and you could still have parking below. So there's multiple ways that you can do that. But we're going to provide that report launching here soon. We also partnered with architects to mass it. Now that was another problem. Was a lot of the agents shared with me, look, okay, I go on that listing appointment like you mentioned. I empathize with what they want, but I know that there is a solution in that, well, I still want to live here, but I want to generate income, or I want to convert this to an investment property, but what is the highest best use? Is it just renovating the main house? No, you have a parking garage that, you can convert, but I have no idea how to do that. So they don't even have the contacts that are the local architects that can come in and help with the site plan, massing it and going, okay, I think you could fit one parking like you're required, and you could build up to 1,200 square feet. So, and then that might cost 75,000, 125. We don't know. Like that's all. There's a big range for that. But that's what we're going to be launching here soon, because we are now listening. So we're complementing technology and information and providing it as kind of ammo for the residential agents locally. Then when they come and meet with their clients, they can help them in a way that they themselves didn't know was possible for that property. So what is your feedback on that? Because we'd like to, obviously partner with residential brokerages and provide this at scale at costs that are like $50 a report. And the architects are kind of doing this for free, if that makes sense, or for minimal cost, maybe another 100 or 200 add-on, because what they eventually like to do is be the architect to design and help actually build out that.
Well, and value equals income, right? So if I'm going to provide value for one person, even if I provide it for 10, then that's going to give me the opportunity to do this one that somebody's willing to have me do, and I'm going to be first in, and first in wins. So I think it's a great idea. I think the more agents have in their arsenal of having accurate data and accurate information so that they can deliver something that's unique and give them choices, right? People move because of their circumstances, but sometimes people don't want to move. They want to maybe bring a couple generations into the same house, or they need something that's going to be on one floor and be wheelchair accessible for somebody, or they need to add that additional income, or that additional income would be the difference between this person being able to afford to stay home with their kids and maybe homeschool them, or this person being able to retire, where they couldn't before because they looked at Social Security and said, okay, that's not going to cut it. But if I added this extra amount, I could really make a difference.
Some use cases they shared, or even just the reverse mortgages. That was a product that once released, it became the end all. But it's actually, if you look at it, it's only for select people, I think, and purpose. And a lot of them are just like, look, I want to tap into equity, but I don't want to make payments now. Or is there any flexibility in that? And so there's
but even listing a property, I agree with you. It could be a mortgage, a reverse mortgage circumstance. It could be even somebody that does want to list their property, but they want to maximize on what the value is. And so this is another thing that is potential. And so when they come and deliver that potential, the person that's coming in to buy says, okay, this will give us more of an opportunity than we ever could have before, or when they don't want to leave that community, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's terrific. Anything that you can do that can provide data that's going to actually add value to the agent that's going out to represent. To me, they need to have accurate market knowledge, and they need to know options. They need to know what the choices are. Then they can make a decision, but it's an educated decision based on getting a tremendous amount of information instead of everybody automatically walking through the door and doing the same CMA.
Yeah. And so that's us addressing the residential. I pivoted too. I thought residential agents would seize on this opportunity because, like you said, the barrier of entry for commercial was information. So it's like a lot of commercial real estate is only data or information driven with the spreadsheets and how are you going to earn.
Although I think you've got
yeah.
a great opportunity commercial wise because, zoning is not only is zoning changing like crazy, we're forcing it, right? The pandemic of having more than 43% of people be able to telecommute, we're going to have so much mixed use in commercial properties.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to have so many different things. We're going to see shopping malls turned into
Amazon
fulfillment centers, but
yes.
you know what? We're going to also see them turned into. We're also going to see them turned into 55 and older projects.
Yeah.
And we're going to see them turned into millennials all having condos around, and then they're going to use a hub in the middle that they're going to be able to connect with technology and almost barter what they're going to be able to do for doing their own business. We're going to see so much change over the next decade because people had time to sit back and think.
Right.
And the people that are paying attention to what the choices are that are out there are going to be the ones that are going to grow. Everybody's panicked. Oh, everybody's going to move out of the city. Well, no, they're not.
No, they're not.
But there are people that are moving out of cities in droves right now. But we'll see something new come back in.
Agreed.
And we'll see something new and different that'll come back in, and it won't look like it did now. But does your world look the same as it did 20 years ago?
Yeah, agreed. So this has been a great conversation with you, Tami. I just, we're coming up at the end, and what I'd like to do is just leave this open-ended question or any final thoughts or any message. So obviously we're, LA centric as a company, and a lot of our audience tends to be, and I know you guys have offices and in Southern California, obviously in Northern California. We'll hopefully be here by next year, representing San Jose. We see a lot of development going on in Oakland. So we want to obviously provide our platform to help future redevelopment opportunities up there as well. But so the floor is yours. It's a very open-ended, whatever you want to kind of share or some, insight that you want to provide, where EXIT is headed, and maybe even a call out for agents that might want to look to join.
Well,
that's perfectly fine.
Well, I think that first, you had asked me earlier, were we expanding in LA? We this year, actually during the pandemic, we have a regional owner that signed on board literally a week before we were sheltered in place.
Oh, wow.
And his name is Rick DeLuca, and he has more than 40 years real estate experience, not just in franchising. He actually owned on the West Coast, actually, it was in Reno, Nevada. He owned the highest per person productivity brokerage in the entire western part of the country.
Wow.
He's been an international trainer for decades, and he's got an unbelievable wealth of experience. And so he purchased the rights to Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, and Hawaii. And he is absolutely one of the who's who, but he's one of those people that doesn't preach it, he can teach it. He's walking the walk every single day. And so you're going to see a lot of expansion where you are.
Oh, that's great.
Because he's really focused on building and growing in that direction. Anybody that has an interest in, how we work and what's unique about us, I highly recommend that you reach out, and you can either reach out to Rick DeLuca, or all of us have mobile business cards. So if you actually text 85377 and just punch in TAMI, that's my first name, you'll get my mobile business card sent to your phone.
I'll share all of your contact information too.
Sure, but you know what I think? I think that probably, to me, it's always about adding value wherever you go. And so for any agents or even people that are business owners that are on the line, I just like to just leave you with just a couple of things. In order to succeed in any business, I need to provide value that makes sense for that. It has to fit, the need has to fit the demographics of where I am, right?
Right.
I need to add value where I am. And so if I can have a 30,000 foot view, so pay attention to, just like this, podcasts, right? Follow people that are excelling in your industry, and pay attention to that, like we would look at Inman News, Risk Media, realtor.org, because that hits the real estate of the 30,000 foot view and gives you some pictures. If I was representing luxury, I'd be paying attention to the Wall Street Journal, right?
Yes.
All the things that are in the caveats of what it is that you're doing. Honestly, an hour a month, if you pay attention to where trends are, you're going to pick up on opportunities. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. So if I'm in a different business, I'm going to have a different 30,000 foot view, but I'm going to still have that 30,000 foot view. Then you're going to have the 2,000-foot view, which is statewide, and the street level view, which is the area that you cover, the geography you cover, like you're in the LA area, right? You want to find a dozen people that work on the business, not in it. So for real estate, that would be, for you, some of that would even be realtors, right? But
yes.
Real estate, it would be appraisers, home inspectors, coaches, insurance companies, mortgage companies, so that I can say, tell me everything that happened in the past and everything that's happening, that you see happening coming down the road, so that I can serve the consumer to the best of my ability. And I'm never going to have an 11th hour closing, because I have everything fully faceted. I understand everything that surrounds a transaction, or everything that surrounds an opportunity. If you're in real estate right now, movers, because the pandemic has impacted so that you can't even follow a migration chart the same as you could before. So connecting with people that have a good reputation and add value to their life, they'll add value to yours, right? Help them to do better. They'll want to help you. I always call it a dirty dozen. I have a dirty 25 because I've been doing this a long time. And we share information back and forth that only serves everybody better. And everybody does better because all boats rise to the same tide, right? So I always recommend movers, and just like you were talking about information, so what you have adds value. In your area, find out, planning board or municipalities, what are the changes that are coming down the pike? Are there any laws that are changing that might give you a window of opportunity that you didn't see before? And that gives you the 2,000-foot view and the street level view. Then you need to have a perspective on your consumer. Do as much homework on the person. I've broken 7 world records in sales, and I can tell you it's always because I did more homework on the person than I even did on the product. And then understand yourself. If I'm really good at numbers, I might want to represent investors. If I'm not really a people person, I don't have to be. I can tell you, I am very strategic, and let me show you how I can add value to what it is you're trying to accomplish. All I need to do is ask enough effective questions. Don't try and be different, not indifferent. Try and be unique to yourself, because you'll really excel if you are. You just have to be honest to that. If you're a people person, then obviously you can share that. But share where your expertise is. If you can find a lane that you can really excel at, I know how to make money, and I know how to show people how to make money. No one's ever going to ask me to fix their computer, right? And so you know what your lane is. We have people that are representing military and doing it exceedingly well because they understand where all the benefits and opportunities are. People that are representing waterfront that totally understand it. We're seeing so many changes in your lifetime and mine. We're going to see climate change foreclosures. I mean, where you are, fires, magic. But also all the water rising as well. We're going to see all sorts of epidemics after the pandemic. Because everything's selling for such a high price, we're going to see some areas that we're going to see short sales and foreclosures. But we're starting to see some new trends that we never saw before. And so you want to always stay ahead of that curve, so that you are the solution. No matter what my business, I don't care if I'm selling candy and gum, or I'm selling real estate, or I'm providing a new technology platform that's going to help educate people. I want to know that I'm always ahead of that curve, and that I know really where all those windows of opportunity are. And that's the difference between doing okay and excelling.
I'm so glad that you brought up climate change, because that was something of contention too on what's going on here. Obviously, 4 million acres burned just right in California, Oregon, and Washington. And so, it hits really close to what we do, is because obviously we want to be a platform to empower agents with information, to bring more players, to create some sort of change in urban development. But also, there were too many communities, I felt, that kept getting built. These master plan communities, the PUDs, the bigger developers were trying to, I think at the time, start to meet the demand of people that were like, oh, we want to obviously be in communities. We want these suburban communities, these houses that look great. They kind of have different designs and access to park, but can you actually put it in right next to forest? So that's where the developers were looking. They were encroaching upon more and more woodland, which would be fine if it wasn't for that. We're not getting any rain. Things are getting drier and drier. So it's just, you're living literally steps away from tinder. Yeah.
Right. But think about that, not just fire, shortage of water.
Right. Exactly.
And people,
Exactly.
people,
We're
people
importing in
digging
California.
wells deeper and
Yeah,
deeper and deeper,
right.
so they're stealing their neighbor's water. Now,
Yes,
now we're going to be talking about fault lines, and we're going
right.
to be talking about earthquakes, and
Oh goodness,
you
2020.
know, yeah, could this year get any better?
Exactly.
But that's why you want to stay ahead of all this data and all this
Great.
information, because
Yeah.
you will find there's a window of opportunity in everything. It
Always,
doesn't
always.
matter what there is. There's
Yeah.
always a window of opportunity, and it's what you focus on. And I think the most important thing out of everything is keep your headspace in the right place, right? If I'm
Yeah.
in control, if I start off my day and I'm in control,
Right.
then the whole rest of the day is going to be a whole lot easier. If I let the world control my day or the news control my day, I'm not gonna do very well. But we're going to see some unbelievable creativity because of this, because of people
Oh
having
man.
so much time to think. We really are.
Yeah, there's a
And
call out. I just even, and again, I'm sorry. It's just I'm
no,
in
no,
here,
no.
and so the smoke has been. We've been smelling the smoke for the past month. So a call out for me then. This is the first time doing this, but a call out for me is I'm tech companies, startup founders, brilliant inventors, and engineers that are out there. I think needs to be a disruption in in the fire department, in fire. Like, we're using the same techniques that we've been using from the 50s and 60s, right? And these are bigger, more massive fires. So I'm hoping for more innovation in that space. The retardants that are being flown in, that's fine, I think. But the sheer size of these wildfires, it's not having an effect. So
Right.
we
But
need,
you know what?
yeah,
Just what you said. The firefighters, they need to have, we could probably revamp everything, right? We
oh
could
yeah,
revamp
autumn,
policing, we could revamp fire
completely
departments, we could
needs it.
revamp everything.
Yeah,
But the best way to do that is you need to have some people that are uh, fire, they're professionals and they are firefighters, so that they actually understand what it is they're trying to accomplish,
right.
and the reality of having
Yes,
human beings and having helicopters and everything else that they're utilizing,
right.
the reality of doing that, and just what if we did do it a little bit different, and
Yeah,
getting those people in,
drones. I don't know. There's like
but getting people into a room to brainstorm that are from both
agreed,
sides. That's,
agreed. Yeah,
technology is supposed to be a tool. It's
yeah,
supposed to add value to our lives. It's not supposed to
exactly.
be our lives.
Complementary. Yeah,
Yeah. And so, but that's the same in real estate too, right? Get the real estate professional to tie in and say, okay, how can we fine tune this, improve it, and make it a better experience? How can we do this in even looking at municipalities and looking at planning for cities?
yeah,
There needs to be a conversation with everybody, so we know, oh my gosh, this is going to put too much on the streets. This is going to put too much on the public transportation.
right.
This is going to make it so that we don't have enough clean water. Um, Everybody pooling together and not just doing it for greed, but doing it for what makes the most sense. There are solutions there, and it's amazing when you find those solutions, what a difference there is in a community that really becomes a community. I'm going to say one more thing, and I promise I'll be
Oh
quick.
no,
That we have this community in upstate New York.
yeah.
When IBM moved out, it was literally like a vacuum. It
Oh,
pulled out 50% of the businesses counted on IBM to do
yeah,
business with.
yeah.
And so it actually created a tremendous amount of poverty in this community.
Mm-hmm.
Houses selling for $65,000 to $70,000. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
3-bedroom homes. But you know what they did is they brought in all the leaders,
Mm,
politicians, community leaders, and parents.
mm,
They brought, and let's get all the adults in the room that can behave like adults. And they brought them in a room and said, what's our priority?
mm.
And that's the number one question that everybody should be asking, regardless of which solution you're trying to find, like
Mm.
firefighters, what's our
Yeah,
priority?
right.
Save more lives, save more land, in that order,
Yes, yes, yes.
right? So they said, our biggest priority is our children. And so they said, so what do we need to do? They put property tax, $7,000 a year for a $70,000 property. Think about that.
Wow.
But they all agreed on it because they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to recruit in the best teachers. The average pay for teachers around here is $32,500 to $35,000. We're going to offer 70.
Wow. Wow.
And so we're going to bring in the best teachers. And our kids are struggling because some of them have enough to eat and some of them don't. And we don't want them to be called out.
Right.
So they provided breakfast and lunch for every single student 7 days a week.
Irregardless
No
of whatever
lunch
food,
cards.
yeah, lunch
No
program.
lunch cards, nothing, so that
great.
nobody would be singled out.
That's great.
What do you think the trajectory of that community is going to be 20 years from now? Right. And
Yeah.
so, but if you can do it in one place, you can do it every place. And
Yeah,
that's
great.
what I believe with same thing with technology.
Yeah.
We can find solutions so that we can work together as a team and we can actually provide added value and everybody wins, right? We have so many issues that are out there. Everything, climate change. Okay, let's come up with some solutions so that we can give everybody fair warning. The weather system, we should know ahead of time, much more ahead of time.
Oh yeah,
because we have so much equipment so that we know when a hurricane or a tornado and even knowing the things we're doing to damaging underneath by fracking, by doing digging all these wells. What are we doing that's going to create earthquakes, that's going to create other things? The more all of us are part of the solution, that we actually come together as adults and say we want to be a community, the better off every single business will be. There's plenty of room for all of us. There's an abundance here. It's just, how do we utilize that abundance?
Can't agree more. Thank you so much, Tami.
Thank you. It was a pleasure getting to know you.
Absolutely. Same. We need to talk afterwards.
All right.
I'd love
to. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.